Russell Crowe. One of those actors who were at the very top, and he climbed up there in a very short time, but he did not succeed in getting a foothold there. Someone thinks it was because of the incredible competition at the top, and someone blames the exorbitant Crowe's royalties, because of which he stopped adequately assess reality. Let's try to figure this out. Russell Crowe since childhood dreamed of becoming a famous actor. According to him, he was 5 years old when he realized that he would definitely get in Hollywood. Then the little Russell got a role in a local commercial, and he was shown on television. But he failed to break through commercials. Then Crowe tried to become a talented singer, but all ended after the local tour. Russell decided to go to Australia and become an actor there. Since no one instantly saw the talent in Russell, Crowe had to work for food in various Australian diners, sometimes playing minor roles in unknown Australian soap operas. Breakthrough happened in 1991, when he got one of the 2 lead roles in the movie Proof. The film was swamped with every possible Australian awards, and Proof even went to Cannes, where it was also noted. Another successful film, Romper Stomper, was released next year. It is believed that Russell Crowe's career went uphill because of this film. The main role in Romper Stomper was supposed to be played by Ben Mendelsohn. He had already been signed for the role, but when Ben shaved his head, it turned out that he looked more funny than frightening. Upon hearing this, Russell quickly cut his hair and drew various tattoos on his arms and neck and began harassing the film's director. According to the director, Crowe was so scary that he just got tired of shucking him in the street. Funny Ben was quickly thrown out, and Russell got his part in the movie. The film became a hit in Australia and had already made its way out of the country after release on video. The actor was noticed in Hollywood, and he received several offers at once. But legend has it that he was found by Sharon Stone. The actress was at the peak of popularity and had an influence on the films in which she starred. After seeing Romper Stomper, she offered to take Crowe for one of the roles in The Quick and the Dead. But producers rejected the little-known actor in the United States and wanted to invite the more popular Liam Neeson. But Stone was able to find influence on producers, and Crowe eventually got the role. Also, Stone invited Leonardo DiCaprio in film. At that time, Leo was not yet a superstar, but Sharon Stone liked him so much that she personally paid his salary. The stellar cast and the Western theme, that was popular in those years, didn't save The Quick and the Dead from failure. Back then, realism in Westerns was in fashion. It launched by Dances with Wolves and Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven. And director Sam Raimi produced some Wild West fantasy. Crowe's second Hollywood film, Virtuosity, which he starred, along with Denzel Washington, who was not yet a star with the prefix super. Instead of Denzel, in the movie should have been Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Arnie wanted all the money the producers had. Without Arnold, no one was interested in the movie and it failed at the box office. So, in his first trip to Hollywood, Russell received 2 failures, and was forced to return to Australia for a while. In Australia he received offer to star in the film LA Confidential. While Guy Pearce got a role in film through several auditions, Russell Crowe got role immediately at suggestion of the director. Initially, Russell declined the proposed role, because he felt that he was not suitable for the role, and he is unlikely to be able to play such violent guy. But director Curtis Hanson insisted, because he really liked Crowe in Romper Stomper. To prepare for role, Crowe and Pearce spent several months on real patrols with real police officers. Crowe himself describes it as the most useless training, because police work in the 50s and in the 90s is very different. Although Russell says he had a great time. Meanwhile, Guy Pearce was extremely disappointed with his temporary partners because he got the rare racists, as he says. And the actors still had to watch old movies and read old books about police work in the mid-20th century. Also, according to Crowe, on the set of this film he had to go through the biggest deprivation of his life. Russell himself really liked drinking beer, and his character drank only scotch. Because of this, Crowe had switched to a different alcoholic diet. All the deprivation and efforts of the actors did not go unnoticed. The film became a big hit at the box office and on a budget of $35 million, collected $126. In addition, L.A. Confidential was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, of which the film won 2. Even though neither Pierce or Crowe were honored at the Oscars, everyone around was talking about 2 new talents in Hollywood. While many actors have a string of roles in failed films that end up ruining their acting careers, Russell Crowe has a string of rejection roles in films that became big hits and made actors big stars. Harvey Weinstein initially spotted talent in the actor. Harvey offered Crowe a contract for 3 films, including Shakespeare in Love. But Russell was afraid to tie himself with one contract for several years and went into free sailing. For the same reason, Crowe turned down the role of Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson has long tried to persuade Russell to shoot, but the actor did not want to return for a few years in New Zealand, from which he escaped with such difficulty. Russell himself later said that he saw great potential in the Tolkien adaptation, but 3-year contract played a crucial role in his refuse. Also, Russell managed to turn down a role in The Matrix. True, he was offered the role of Morpheus, while Will Smith was strongly persuaded to play Neo. But how not to recall here the refusal of the role of Wolverine? For some reason, the producers of the film wanted to see an Australian as Wolverine, and originally offered the role to Mel Gibson. Gibson said he was too old to run around in tights, and then the filmmakers began baiting Russell Crowe. In those years, the comic book genre was more dead than alive, and Crowe was simply afraid to get involved with suspect movies early in his career and declined. Crowe was quickly replaced by Hugh Jackman. Instead of all these films, Russell chose the small, but promising sports drama, Mystery Alaska. The film was directed by Jay Roach, who was responsible for Austin Powers, and Russell himself was counting on Americans' love of sports and the film's success at the box office. But movie turned out to be a big flop and went straight to video. Deciding to catch up, Crowe made his way into Michael Mann's Insider. Mann was counted as a big director in those years, and all actors in Hollywood wanted to play in his films. The director immediately invited Al Pacino and Val Kilmer, with whom he had already worked on Heat. But Kilmer damaged his reputation on the set of The Island of Dr. Moreau, and his candidacy was suspended. Upon hearing of this moment, Russell Crowe started running around Michael Mann and persuade director to take him. Insider was Crowe's biggest flop in those years. On a $90 million budget, the film managed to gross only $60. All involved in the production was saved by a large number of Oscar nominations. This time Crowe was not left out and received an Oscar and Golden Globe nomination. So, in 2000, Gladiator crashing down on our heads. Mel Gibson was originally cast as Maximus, but since the movie had only Ridley Scott but no script, Gibson quickly escaped. After that, Russell Crowe joined the project. The Gladiator shoot was a real disaster. The film, by all accounts, was supposed to be a big flop. Filming began without a script and held on to general idea. Ridley Scott started shooting everything that came into his head, and when the director finally got a few pages of the script, he shot them. Because of this, there's a lot of acting improvisation and edits to the script. Plus, in those years, the peplum genre was dead and everyone predicted fail. But everything happened on the contrary. Gladiator took in $460 million at the box office on a budget of $100, and with the release on DVD broke all records there as well. Along with this success, Crowe received Oscar for Best Actor. Next to The Gladiator, the thriller Proof of Life sank almost imperceptibly. Crowe snagged the role from Harrison Ford, who had been thinking too long about the offer and piling on the cost. Although no one wanted this film, it affected the fates of many people. More specifically, Russell Crowe influenced those lives. He is the one who ruined Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's marriage, and when Quaid started to divorce Ryan, Crowe left her too. The actress was so furious that she refused to talk about working with Russell Crowe in promotional interviews for the film's release, for which she was even fined. Russell Crowe, on the wave of Gladiator's success, signed on for the film A Beautiful Mind. He asked for $15 million for his participation. And since no one doubted Crowe's talent, this money was immediately thrown at him. For the third year in a row, Crowe was nominated for an Academy Award. This time he gave way to Denzel Washington, but he took the Golden Globe for A Beautiful Mind. At the box office, the film was also excellent, making $313 million on a budget of $58. All actors in Hollywood might be envied such a rapid rise, but Crowe was crushed in 2003 by massive failure of Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. Master and Commander became the most expensive movie in history at the time of its release. This is partly to blame for Russell Crowe's fee, who asked $20 million for his role. In general, marine films are a rare phenomenon in Hollywood, because they are very expensive to shoot, it's hard to work with water, and not all films become big hits. But there were high expectations for Master and Commander. Russell himself says that he did not want to star in movie, because he was not satisfied with the script, and if it succeeds, the studio planned to run in the work at least 2 sequels, and Crowe did not want to tie himself with a long contract. He agreed to shoot because of director Peter Weir, with whom he always wanted to work, because of the check for $20 million and the fact that he had permission to correct the script. But apparently all his edits didn't help. The audience did not want to watch the overlong, pompous movie, and the film completely failed at the box office, having made only $210 million. All plans for a sequel immediately abandoned, and Crowe went free sailing. This is when Russell remembered one incredible script that he himself wanted to run for a long time. Cinderella Man was planned to be shot back in the late 90s. Lasse Hallström would direct it, and Crowe would play the leading role. But because at that time no one had yet discerned a great talent in Russell, no one wanted to finance the film. But after the success of Beautiful Mind, Crowe persuaded director Ron Howard to take on Cinderella Man. Since the film started before the failure of Master and Commander, the drama about the boxer managed to knock out $80 million, to which will be added another $8 million because of Russell's injuries received during the filming and the suspension of filming because of these injuries. These traumas appeared due to the fact that Crowe wanted to shoot the most realistic fights and demanded that his opponents stop the punch at a short distance from his body. Naturally, it was not always possible, and real punches from professional boxers were landing at Russell all the time. As a result, Crowe received a concussion, broken ribs, and bruises, and minor wounds did not count. Around the same time, Russell Crowe's attraction to fighting in real life became known. He did not miss the opportunity to beat some people. Under the hand of Crowe got hotel concierges and film producers. The scandals around the actor's behavior reached such proportions that he was mocked even in South Park. Around the movie Cinderella Man, also a real scandal broke out after the release. Children of boxer Max Baer, who was the main rival of the character of Russell Crowe in the film, went to court because of the denigration of their father's image. To enhance the dramatic effect, Max Baer was made a sharply negative character, which is completely inconsistent with historical truth. In life, Max Baer was a kind and charming man, as noted by all who knew him. 2 of his opponents did die after meeting Baer in the ring, but not only was Baer never proud of it, as shown in the movie, but he took these accidents as a personal tragedy. Cinderella Man was also a personal tragedy for Russell Crowe. The film failed at the box office, where it could collect only $108 million. One theater chain even ran a promotional campaign in which they promised to refund tickets if viewers did not like Cinderella Man. But even that didn't draw viewers into theaters. The movie itself was well received and won a couple of film awards. Both Russell Crowe and Paul Giamatti received nominations and awards, with Giamatti even surpassing Crowe in its number. The interesting thing is that the role of Paul Giamatti wasn't originally in the script, and his character was added during filming. The failure of the film is often blamed on an unfortunate release date during the summer blockbuster season. Next to Cinderella Man, Revenge of the Sith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Batman Begins, and Madagascar hit theaters. Amid such films, sports drama just got lost. Russell immediately became disappointed in Ron Howard, and ran to Ridley Scott, who constantly called him. From 2006 to 2010, Scott and Crowe jointly made 4 films and 3 of them failed. Only the movie American Gangster managed to survive. In addition to these 4 pictures, Russell twice starred with other directors in 3:10 to Yuma and State of Play. In the Train to Yuma, Russell was able to jump in at the last moment. Tom Cruise was supposed to star in the film, but he preferred Mission Impossible 3, where he got paid the entire budget. 3:10 to Yuma. Russell himself turned down 2 projects at once because of this movie. For a while, Crowe had his eye on the movie Australia. The studio and director Baz Luhrmann saw him in the lead role. Too small, by the standards of Russell Crowe, fee prevented this from happening. The studio was not ready to allocate $10 million for the actor. Russell took offense and left, saying that he was not going to do charity work and shoot for a pittance. Crowe was quickly replaced by Hugh Jackman, again. Immediately Russell lost his role in Sweeney Todd as well. The film was originally supposed to be directed by Sam Mendes, who gave out American Beauty. And the studio agreed give to Russell Crowe $10 million. But the project stalled due to various creative differences and budgetary constraints. Eventually Mendes left to shoot Revolutionary Road, and the studio turned to Tim Burton, who drastically changed the entire concept of the film. Crowe was not satisfied with new director, and since he was promised $10 million for his role in Yuma, he ran away. Burton wasn't upset and immediately called Johnny Depp, and if there is not much difference with Australia, the film at the box office sank even more impressive than 3:10 to Yuma. Then Sweeney Todd did quite well. Johnny Depp got an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe nomination, which he eventually won. Well, 3:10 to Yuma suffered more because producers threw too much money at Russell. The film's budget was drastically reduced and the money suddenly ran out during filming. This can be clearly seen in the ending of the film. The unfinished houses should have been completed and the final battle should have lasted much longer and with more swing. But director James Mangold successfully got out of the situation and the unfinished sets were used anyway. And if you don't know about this situation, everything looks like it was planned. Well, it ended up being an epic failure. 3:10 to Yuma took only $70 million on a budget of $55. And this whole series of failures ended with the Robin Hood fiasco, which cost $200 million. This failure led not only to the breakup of Russell Crowe with Ridley Scott, but also to a sharp drop actor's royalty. For the film The Next 3 Days and Broken City, he received only $5 million. Although a couple of years ago, Crowe would not even get out of bed for that sum. Broken City was mediocre at the box office, and The Next 3 Days was Crowe's first film in several years to do it well. But that was more because of initially small budget of $30 million. From that point Russell Crowe is going into the background. And sometimes it worked quite well, as in the case of those same Les Miserables, which grossed $441 million on a budget of $61. So did Man of Steel, which grossed $668 million on a budget of $225. In 2014 Darren Aronofsky's Noah released. Noah is actor's last relatively successful big-budget film in which he starred. Russell was very lucky this time. The role was turned down by everyone. Only when there was no one left in Hollywood, Aronofsky turned his attention to Crowe. Since Crowe himself did not have much choice, he immediately agreed. The film was not a big success and all the supposed awards went around. But on a budget of $125 million, film took $359 million. Russell realized that no one else wanted his acting talent and decided to become a talented director. For his directorial debut, he looked at 3 films: The Long Green Shore, telling the story of Australian soldiers in New Guinea; Bra Boys, about a famous surfing gang; and The Water Diviner, which he eventually directed. But the film's fate was sealed before filming even began when Jai Courtney infiltrated the film's cast. Crowe attempted to return to Hollywood Olympus with The Nice Guys in 2016. Shane Black directed the film from his own script and everyone had high hopes for it. Black had previously directed Iron Man 3, and was considered an incredibly talented screenwriter after the Lethal Weapon series and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Nice Guys was originally supposed to come out as a TV series. The cast was naturally supposed to be different, but the pilot episode was met cold by the audience, and Black could not give a hooking end to the season. Finally, the project stalled and moved from the spot, when it was decided to shoot a full length, and the main roles were accepted by Crowe and Gosling. Russell speaks very positively about the film and has constantly stated his desire to star in its sequel. But that's unlikely to ever happen because of big box office failure. Nice Guys made only $62 million on a budget of $50. After this failure, the actor has already gone thoroughly into second and even third leads in various films. But even here, he clearly favors small, but brighter roles. Although Crowe's career is not going through the best of times, but he is in no hurry to star in movies of obscure category. This year, The Greatest Beer Run Ever was released on one of the streaming services. Film was quite warmly received by the audience. But another drama about a famous boxer, The Life of Jem Belcher, can't impress either at the box office or on the streaming. Thanks to the large Australian diaspora in Hollywood, Russell still gets his piece of fame in the big Hollywood blockbusters. And in his spare time from acting, which is becoming more and more, Russell does not lose hope of becoming a talented director. Recently premiere of his film Poker Face took place. This time Crowe has decided not to take risks and he wrote the script for the film. Crowe is not going to retire. He is assigned to the Kraven the Hunter movie, which is supposed to be part of the comic universe from Sony Studios. That universe itself is falling apart after the failure of Morbius, but if Kraven succeeds, things could change. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and stay in touch.